Hello every pony. I'd like to apologize for my attitude in the last video. There is some pony on my channel who keeps wrecking things, and I have no clue who it is. Also, for those who are wondering, Jet did lose the bet on a technicality. He didn't close out the video and did not object to me doing so. Although, knowing Jet, he probably treats the swear jar debt much like a badge of honor and could honestly care less about how much he has. Sorry, text. And there wasn't a review for the past few weeks because I was busy. Yeah, I was busy. Totally wasn't procrastinating or anything. Anyways, let's begin the review of the Bookworm, Part 1. But first, the spoiler alert. Let me spell it out for you. S-P-O-I-L-E-R-S are common in this video. So this comic is written by Heather Nuffer and the art is by Amy Meberson. Anyways, it begins... You know, in the spirit of the story of the comic involving the characters going into stories, I'm gonna begin it a different way. Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria, some sort of cocoon-like things were showing up all over the small town of Ponyville. Luckily, Celestia's #1 student, Twilight, is there to figure out what is going on. When Twilight notices that her book has holes in it.
Of all the worst things that could happen, this is the worst of things!
Panicking, Twilight, accompanied by AJ, heads back to her library. And there, Twilight's worst nightmare comes true. All of her books are destroyed. Well, at least most of them are. It won't be the last time that happens.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run, the night goes on.
R.I.P. Treehouse. Suddenly, Pinkie Pie shows up and gives the strange cocoon things a name. Schmarflepods. It is then that Twi finds the cause of the book massacre, a bookworm. Unfortunately, it is way too fast to simply catch. So Twilight assembles her friends and it is decided that the only way to catch the worm and restore the books is from inside the books. What could possibly go wrong? In order to keep an eye on the Schmarflepods, Fluttershy, AJ, and Spike will be staying behind. So Twilight, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity enter the books. The first story they appear to be inside is a fairy tale. After the magical bookworm escapes, Twilight says that they have to reenact the story in order to mend the torn pages. So they do so, but not without leaving their own mark on the stories, which Twilight is not too happy about. The next story they enter is a daring do novel, where Dash gets to play the role of her hero. Meanwhile, back in the real world, one of the Schmarflepods begins to hatch, and out comes Daring Do.
Say what?
Back in the Daring Do novel, it would appear that the ponies are captured by some hamsters, who are, strangely enough, led by the bookworm. Guess he can talk.
Oh no!
Luckily, Daring Dash has read the books so much that she knows how to free her and her friends. They then leave the story. Again, they make a few creative changes to the story, continuing to ignore Twilight's protest. The next book they enter is Rarity's favorite romance novel. It is there that they encounter the bookworm again. He asks, "What do clever ponies do when their stories are gone? How can you fix blank pages?" The book then begins to fade from existence. And Pinkie Pie, being Pinkie Pie, decides that she would put her hoof on the edge of the disappearing book, only to lose the bottom of her hoof. It is then that Rarity discovers that the Bookworm left his escape route open this time, unlike each time in the previous stories. So they go through and end up in an empty white void. And Twilight is utterly distraught because all her books are destroyed. Back in Ponyville, the remaining Schmarflepods release the story world's worst villains. Voldemort, Maleficent, Lochnae, and that other guy from Rarity's favorite romance novel. To be continued. I'd give this comic 4 Schmarflepods out of 10. It is sort of a mishmash of 2 cliché storylines, that of storybook characters entering the real world and real world characters entering a storybook world. And in that respect, it does set up an interesting story, but I can already tell it's gonna have a few issues with pacing. It already felt rushed, which is usually something I say about the second part of these 2-part stories. I mean, they have to jump back and forth between the book world and the real world, but they could have spent a little more time with each group of characters before switching between them. One major thing that I did actually like, though, is the use of the different panel style between the real and fiction worlds as well as the white void. I do, however, wish that they put some explanation for why the Bookworm has these magical powers. Sure, it's a magical world. Why not? But to quote the mysterious Mr. Enter, because magic is better than because potatoes. And currently, it seems like the excuse for him having powers is because potatoes. Though I guess I could just ignore it and say, yeah, it's because magic, even though they never said it. But I wish they at least said that he's a magic bookworm, but I'm pretty sure they just refer to him as a bookworm. He doesn't even get a real name, as far as I know. Well, that is my 2 bites, I mean bits. Sorry, bookworms eating books confused me. That is my 2 bits on the Bookworm, Part 1. Tell me your 2 bits in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not suggest a possible future spoiler alert? That way you can have it read like that Orizan's was.
And I will remind you, mispronouncing things is my thing.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Comic Sans, and I will see you next week for the review of The Bookworm, Part 2. Hey! Are you the one who's been messing with my channel? Hey! Get back here, you!